Groaned Ra, split the clouds, steam ends never same fog at the ends, ran its red beam once splitting waves that swallowed Rapture. Comstock knelt at the font, Columbia's water cold on his palms, whispering vows that drowned 1,000 cities. Salt crusted the porthole, lightning split the spire, steam fogged the font's edge. Each descent a loop, each light a lie, each prayer a chain. The abyss remembers, the storm never ends, the font's water ran red once, will it ever run free? What if the lighthouse was never a door, a key, but a hinge, each entry a reset, each choice a scripted echo? Rapture, Columbia, thresholds in the same endless argument. The lighthouse does not offer escape, it stages the same struggle in new masks. Objectivism, patriotism, illusions of agency carved into its concrete, a machine that grinds hope into repetition. The storm outside is not chaos, it is a metronome. Who built the loop to outlast its architects, or are we all just splicers, tugging at chains that tighten when pulled? The font's water never runs free, it only cycles, and the next protagonist, they will not break the pattern, they cannot. The lighthouse is the pattern, Minerva's den, a vault within the vault. Steam hisses like trapped breath, salt-crust walls reek of copper and failure. The loop is not a failure of systems, it is their final, perfect design. Columbia rose on a tether of fire. Rapture drowned beneath a plate of glass. Both began at the lighthouse. Comstock's hands, blood-washed and trembling, carved a city from sky and delusion. 63 years later, Ryan's voice cold, certain drowned in his own echo. The lighthouse did not offer choice. It offered a script. Each founder believed they wrote the first page. They were always the fifth draft. Ideas, when made flesh, hunger. Comstock's divine right choked on its own ash. Ryan's no gods, no masters dissolved in the algae of self. The lighthouse chose them, not for vision but for obedience. It is not a prison of walls, but of walls that bend to will until the will breaks and the walls remain. The audio diaries whisper of epiphanies, they are obituaries. Every protagonist who climbed those spiral stairs carried a manifesto, they left with a death certificate. The lighthouse does not repeat, it perfects. A cycle is not a flaw, it is a proof. The salt on its walls is not from the sea. It is from the tears of those who saw the light and understood too late. The architect was never Ludas, never Comstock, never Ryan. The lighthouse is the philosopher. And its lesson is, to build is to unmake, to begin is to rebegin, always. The lighthouse stands, the tower hums. Both are not places but engines, gears in a machine that grinds hope into repetition. In Rapture, the lighthouse was the womb of Andrew Ryan's godless godhood. In Songbird, its twin births a skybound purgatory. Elizabeth climbs, Elizabeth falls, she believes she escapes. The architecture does not permit escape. What is a lighthouse if not a promise? A beam to guide the lost, yet here the light is a snare. It draws the desperate toward a truth they cannot unsee. Every revolution is a loop, every savior is a puppet. The Songbird Tower does not lift Elizabeth above the storm, it imprisons her asterisk within asterisk it. Her freedom is the cycle's most elegant lie. The pattern is written in stone, lighthouse, the man. The city, each is a mirror, each is a cage. Rapture drowned to become a museum of hubris. Songbird soars as a monument to the same delusion. The lighthouse is not a beginning. It is the echo, the rebegin, the architect of all that follows. Is this not the horror, not the collapse of civilizations, but their eternal return? A city's fall is not an end. It is a script, a template. The lighthouse whispers, asterisk, build your utopia. I will show you its ruin, then I will show you again. Asterisk, the protagonists are not heroes. They are test subjects in a thought experiment older than Comstock or Ryan. Every choice they make was foretold in the lighthouse's design. Every rebellion is a rehearsal. The tower's shadow stretches across ages, across ideologies, across the brittle bones of those who dare to believe they shape their own fate. The lighthouse does not judge, it does not care. It is the question and the answer and the space between where the cycle breathes. You think you choose your ideology, you think you choose your prison. The lighthouse does not offer escape, it offers repetition. Rapture drowned in its own hubris, a city of gods who forgot the sea. Columbia burned, a skybound arc where faith became a noose, each protagonist a pawn in the same rigged game. You climbed the spire, found the lighthouse, and the light did not free you, it reset you. Baptism in infinite washed away sin, it left the sinner hollow. A child's voice echoed through the clouds, reciting dogma while the vox screamed below. The lighthouse does not care if you are a prophet or a madman. It feeds on conviction, starves on doubt. Every button you pressed, every lever you pulled was scripted by the ideology you swore to defy. You called it choice. It was a loop. Who built the lighthouse? Not Atlas, not Comstock. A higher hand, perhaps, or no hand at all. Just the weight of cycles, grinding human will into dust. You thought Rapture's corpses proved objectivism's failure. You thought Columbia's ashes condemned religion. But here you are. Again, another city, another creed, another fall. The lighthouse is the wound that never heals. It is the lie that keeps telling itself. You wanted freedom. Freedom is the first scream of the vox, the last gasp of a splicer. The lighthouse grants no freedom, it grants legacy. A curse passed through the salt and smoke, through blood and sky. You are not the hero, you are the echo, the architect, the prisoner. And when the light blinds you, when the walls close in, remember, the lighthouse does not judge. It only remembers, and you keep building. The lighthouse was not a setting, it was a mechanism. The same spire, the same delusion, Comstock's crown, Ryan's creed, each iteration a scar on time's skin. You call it recurrence, we call it intent. A prison needs bars, a cycle needs no walls. The lighthouse's design was not repetition, it was recursion, a loop carved into the bones of reality. Every rapture, every fall, every rise from ashechos of a single unbroken chain. Andrew Ryan did not build Rapture, he rebuilt it. Comstock did not escape, he relived. The lighthouse was never a beginning, it was the axis, the anchor, the architect. You argue choice, but choice implies divergence. What diverges does not return. What returns is a prisoner of its own making. The lighthouse did not trap them, it reflected them. Every god who lit its beam saw only their shadow, and still the cycle spins. New hands will raise the spire, new voices will preach. The lighthouse does not judge, it does not forget, it waits, because the prison is not in the stone. It is in the need to build, and when the next rapture rises, when the next savior steps into the light, will you see the pattern, or will you again become the echo? Whispered through the storm, there's always a lighthouse, there's always a man, there's always a city. The lighthouse wasn't built to guide, it was built to bind. Each new savior's choice ignites the same inferno. The architect's shadow stretches through every age. When the next flame rises, will you burn with it or shatter the spark before it spreads? The Lighthouse twins did not merely fracture physics, they wove narratives into the fabric of reality. Their equations were not blueprints but incantations, each variable a thread in a tapestry of doomed ideologies. The lighthouse hums at the edge of every timeline, its beacon not a guide but a siren song. Inside its walls, the air thrums with the static of unopened doors, each one a city yet to rise, yet to fall. Rapture's spires, Columbia's airships, their echoes ripple through dimensions. Each iteration births a new prophet, a new utopia built on the same brittle promises. The lighthouse watches, it waits. The cold metal of its corridors presses against the protagonist's palms, their breath fogging in the stale ira-sensory lie, for time here is not linear. The flickering bulbs above cast shadows that move independently, as if the walls themselves remember the screams of every would-be savior who passed through. Every choice made within the lighthouse's grasp is a permutation of the same mistake. The protagonist reaches for the lever, believing they will shatter the cycle, but the lever is a mirror. To flood Rapture or burn Columbia is to play the role written by the Lighthouse twins, a tragic hero, a fool's paradox. The lighthouse does not trap Bodis, it imprisons ideas. Each city's collapse is not an end but a punctuation mark in an eternal argument. The twins, their voices overlapping in that impossible harmony, are not scientists. They are dramatists staging a play where the audience is the actor and the script is written in blood. What does it mean to be free when every path converges on ruin? The lighthouse's architects knew the answer long before the first brick was laid. Ideology is a loop, a MB, strip of hubris. The door at the end of the corridor remains sealed, not to imprison the protagonist but to ensure the story repeats. For in repetition lies truth, that power corrupts not because it is misused, but because it is inevitable. The Lighthouse twins did not create the lighthouse to offer choice. They created it to prove that choice is an illusion, and the beacon, it shines not to guide but to blind. The lighthouse did not choose its prisoners, it chose the choices they would make. Objectivism crystallized in Rapture's spire, religious fervor coiled through the tunnels of the first city. Collectivism roared in the iron bell of its successor, 3 paths, 1 endpoint. The architect's hand was hidden in every pillar, every creed, every anthem. A cycle not of time, but of truth curated, controlled, inescapable. What is a prison if not a story told twice? The first protagonist saw Ayn Rand's shadow in the water. The second knelt to a god whispered through rusted pipes. The third raised a fist to the sky, only to find the sky was a ceiling. Each believed they broke the mold. Each became the mold. The lighthouse did not imprison bodies, it imprisoned thought. You call it a lighthouse, it is a lens, a prism refracting the same lie into infinite shapes. The beacon's glare is not light, it is focus. It sharpens the edges of ideology until they cut away all else, nuance, doubt, freedom. The cycle is not a flaw, it is the design. No stone wall could hold what this structure holds. Its walls are written in the air, invented, reinvented forever. The prison is the pattern is the prison, and the architect. It waits not in rapture, not in the depths, in the space between choices where all choices converge. The next protagonist will see a new flag, hear a new hymn. Believe a new truth. They will not know the lighthouse built the lie before their eyes. They will not know they are not the first. They will not know they are not free. And the cycle will begin again. The lighthouse was not a beacon of choice, but a prison of repetition. Each protagonist, drawn by the promise of autonomy, became a cog in a machine they couldn't see. Their choices were not free, they were rehearsals of a script written by the architects of ideology. The lighthouse did not lie, it simply made the lie inevitable. A democracy unchecked becomes a tyranny of complacency. A faith undisturbed becomes a dogma that starves the soul. An economy unbounded becomes a hunger that consumes itself. The cycle isn't a failure of systems, it is their fulfillment. We are all visitors in someone else's lighthouse. We believe we are builders, but we are more often the keepers of a cage we cannot name. The grief isn't in being trapped, it is in not knowing the walls are there. And when the next generation arrives, they will not know they are not the first. They will not know they are not free, and the cycle will begin again. The songbird hums. It does not sing, it echoes the same fractured hymn every time, because the question was never whether we would break free. The question was whether we would call it freedom at all. The lighthouse was no refuge, it was a mirror. Every BioShock protagonist walked its halls not to find answers, but to see their own face in the glass, distorted, desperate, doomed. Rapture's spires, Columbia's iron, each city a monument to a lie. Founders carved utopias from ideology, only to watch them rot. The lighthouse did not guide. It echoed their choices, amplifying the noise until the walls bled silence. Ryan's objectivism, Comstock's mandate etch a hymn to control. The lighthouse did not judge, it reflected. In that reflection, the architects saw only what they wished, a path forward, a truth unshaken. But the path was a loop, the truth a shadow, the cycle repeats. New cities, new ideologies, same fractured hymn. The lighthouse waits, it does not create, it reveals. Those who enter, blind to their own prisons, become the walls themselves. To be alive is to build in circles, to name the trap freedom. The lighthouse does not trap, it shows. And the question remains, when the mirror cracks, do we see the prisoner, the will to break it? Only those who see the lighthouse for what it is might escape the song. 301 words. The bathysphere breaks the surface. The lighthouse dissolves into storm clouds. A whisper cuts through the static. There's always a lighthouse. The audio diary hums. A voice, frayed but steady, traces the pattern. A tower rises. A man lights a flame. A city drowns in its own ambition. Each cycle begins with a choice. Each cycle ends with the same answer. The lighthouse does not guide, it resets. The flame is not a beacon, it is a trigger. The protagonist always surfaces, the storm always returns, the city always rebuilds, brick by diluted brick. The man in the tower always believes he is free. You think you shatter the prison shatters you, or perhaps both. The lighthouse does not care, it is the rhythm. The repetition, the unbroken chain of wills that mistake echo for escape. The voice in the diary softens, there's always a city. The words hang, a dirge and a dare. The bathysphere's lights dim, the ocean swallows the ruins whole, a new tower glows on the horizon, faint, persistent, a lighthouse, the whisper fades, the storm rages, the cycle breathes. The Ludes twins spun their twin helix through time's static, one pulled, one pushed, the lighthouse stood not as sanctuarino, but as a lock, grinding the same gears in every age. Every diver who breached its glow became a pawn in a chess game without end. The storm outside was no accident, it was a cage, a loop. A question how many lives must drown before the tide shifts. The Lighthouse did not offer choice, it offered repetition. A single path endlessly replayed. The Ludes twins knew this, they built it. They needed it, but what architect does not ask the cost of their own design? The cycle breathes, but cycles can break. What fractures when the Lighthouse's light finally dies?